I'm sorry to be the annoying white guy having to say this to you right now, but all of this stuff about black people being executed on the streets of America by racist police officers is not true. Hi gang, you doing all right? Right, well, obviously we need to talk about some bollocks. Naomi Osaka pulls out of tennis tournament over continued genocide of black people. So let's just go over the most recent incident that caused all of this. Jacob Blake, right? Jacob Blake, another black man, shot by the police because he decided to not do what he was fucking told. I mean, it's really quite annoying reading stuff from the BBC like, Jacob Blake, 29, was shot several times in the back as he entered a car where his 3 children were seated. They don't tell you what was going on in the few moments before that, where the police were trying and failing to hold him down to the ground, even though 1 or 2 of the police officers had a gun and a taser pointed at him. They weren't able to do so. He stood up, rather nonchalantly struts all the way round the front of his car. He leans torso first right into the car as though he could be reaching for something which, for all the police know, could potentially be a weapon, and then he gets shot. Obviously released after that, the next day or a couple of days after that, was somebody else uploading a video from the opposite side of the car where we can see, it's not me just saying it, we can actually see Jacob is down on the ground. There's a police officer standing slightly over the top of him. I mean, this video's annoying as fuck, to be honest. It's like one of those videos somebody releases that tries to convince you that fucking aliens are real. But we go back, we can look at it again. It's down. Oh, the shaky. Who the fuck's holding the camera? Michael J. Fox? Shortly after the shooting, Andy No tweeted out, Jacob Blake, the man shot by police in Kenosha, Wisconsin, has a history of assaulting police. He also has past charges for domestic abuse and a sex crime. There's a warrant out for his arrest. They should have waited until they had actually seen a gun before they shot him. What fucking idealistic world? Let me show you why that sort of attitude as a police officer in America is very likely to get you killed.
Come here, man. Come here for a second. Come here. If you don't, you better stop, or I would. Come here. Come here. Stop. 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 Take your hands out your pocket. Take your hands out your pocket. If you don't stop, so I'm gonna tase you. I'm not playing with you. Take your hands out your pocket. Take your hands out your pocket. Take your hands out your pocket. Shots fired!
See, I didn't want to do a video like this. You know, not on this topic, right? Because I understand that I'm white, and many of you anti-racists out there who want to live in a post-racial society seem to be very, very bothered when a white person says stuff that you don't agree with. And it doesn't matter whether or not they may have learnt it like I have from listening to black people. No.
Are you a supporter of the Black Lives Matter movement?
Am I a supporter?
Correct.
No, I'm not.
And I'm sorry to be the annoying white guy having to say this to you right now, but all of this stuff about black people being executed on the streets of America by racist police officers is not true. The way that people keep on making this assumption is by considering the general population. Black people only make up 13% of the general US population. So at most, when we look at something like prison populations, we should only expect to see about 13% of black people in prison, right? The black prison population in America is around 38%. Now, the reason for that isn't racism. The reason for that is crime rates.
They look at disparate outcomes, racially disparate outcomes, and wherever they see them, they assume something nefarious is going on. I read an article in the LA Times recently talking about police. 900 killings in LA by police since 2000, and then they tell you 80% were black. They tell you the percentage of the black population in LA, and they go, draw your own conclusions. When we know, it's not that simple. Just telling us what the percentage of the population is, and then the percentage of blacks involved in with police. What we want to know, what are the crime rates based on neighborhoods and zip codes and race and ethnicity and so forth. You must factor that in.
Here we have a circle representing the general population. Within that circle, we can have a cluster of other circles. These can represent different groups. Then, within the middle of all of that, we can have a slightly smaller circle. This circle represents the people who are actually involved in crime. Note, there's no point including anybody outside of that little circle because none of those people are having interactions with the fucking police. If you do include everybody outside of that circle, the entire general population, then that suggests that the police are interacting with absolutely everybody in the population and then saying, I've got a reason to shoot some of you, but I choose not to. When the police get fucking called out for crime, to solve crime. Like if there's a crime in a shopping centre, they don't all fucking run into the shopping centre and fucking point guns at fucking everyone in there, do they? Fucking, they're there for the criminals. They run to the criminals, for fuck. Let's take it one step further, shall we? Okay, let's look at New York City so we can understand why population data is fucking meaningless. Because in New York City, despite black people only making up 23% of the population, they're responsible for 75% of shootings, 70% of robberies, and 66% of all violent crime. Add Hispanic data, and that accounts for 98% of all illegal gunfire in the city. By contrast, white people make up 33% of the population, yet they're only responsible for 2% of shootings and 4% of robberies. See, that's where population data gets you. How about somewhere else? Chicago. We hear a lot about Chicago, right? There was a study in July that found that in Chicago, black people are 6 times more likely to be shot by the police than white people. Sounds pretty bad. Why don't we take a closer look? According to the Chicago Police Department, in Chicago, black people only made up 30% of the population. So at the most, we should only expect them to be responsible for 30% of crime, shouldn't we? In Chicago, 75% of people murdered are black. 71% of murderers are black. But white people also murder white people, and that is incredibly true. However, it's the rates that are important. So let's check out another part of the country. In LA, a typical city, blacks between the ages of 20 to 24 die at a rate 20 to 30 times the national mean. Black males between the ages of 14 and 17 commit homicide at 10 times the rate of white and Hispanic male teenagers combined. Black males of all ages commit homicide at 8 times the rate of whites and Hispanics and 12 times the rate of whites alone. Nationwide, blacks of all ages are murdered at 6 times the rate of whites and Hispanics combined. However, most violent crime anywhere in the world is committed by males. So, in the case of black males, that brings the 13% down to around 6%. This means 6% of the United States is responsible for over half of all of the murders in the entire country. In 2018, black people were responsible for 53% of homicides and 60% of robberies. Black offenders committed 52% of homicides recorded between 1980 and 2008. Only 45% of offenders were white. Between the years 2011 and 2013, 38.5% of people arrested for murder, manslaughter, rape, robbery, and aggravated assault were black. Every year in the United States, approximately 8,000 black people are murdered, with about 95% of these murders being committed by other African Americans. Want the exact figures? Well, we can do that by looking at the FBI data. 2014, crime in the United States, FBI database. White people, 5,397. Black people, 6,095. 2015, homicides, white, 5,854. Black homicides, 7,039. 2016, white homicide victims, 6,576. Black, 7,881. 2017, white homicides, 6,579. Black homicide victims, 7,851. 2018, white, 6,088. Black, 7,407. We can go all the way back to 1976 if you want, and that's exactly what we're going to fucking do. Bureau of Justice Statistics, homicide trends in the United States. Here we go. They've given it per capita. How useful is that? Between 1976 all the way up to 2005, do you know what? Fuck it, I'll just show you the graph. Sort of 25 to 50 people per 100,000 people. Black people are being murdered by other black people. But how many people actually get shot by the police? Don't worry, you know I'm going to fucking tell you. People shot by the police from 2017 to 2020. For 2017, white people, taking into account crime rates, 457. Black people, 223. Okay, what about the next year? What about... It's just a blip. What about the next year, right? White people, 399. Black people, 209. What? There's got to be something wrong with this. There's got to be something wrong. There's just got to be something wrong. There's just got to be something wrong. All the liberal people keep on shouting at me in the street and burning up fucking petrol stations. There's got to be something wrong. 2019. White people, 370. Black people, 230. Hold up, I thought I fixed this. 2020 so far, white people, 242. Black people, 123. But, you know, the genocide that Naomi Osaka is talking about is the one where 0.0000018% of unarmed black people get killed by the police. Not the roughly 95% of the 8,000 black people that die at the hands of other black people every fucking year. And then another thing that I keep on hearing people say is Tamir Rice. The 12-year-old lad that got shot by the police because he was holding a toy gun. The amount of times I've seen somebody put up a picture of Tamir Rice and try to compare that to what's going on with the general message of the meme basically being Tamir Rice, a 12-year-old black boy, got shot for holding a toy gun. This wouldn't happen to a white person. Well, according to the Washington Post database, over a 2-year period, police killed 86 people holding toy or imitation guns. 54 of them were white. But now I wanted to get to the final point that I wanted to talk about, which I think is most important, which is how despicable and how fucking racist Democrat voters now are in 2020. Except they don't see it that way because they think being racist towards white people is totally fine. Turns out last night, when I was also having a conversation with a black person who is a Democrat voter and a Bernie Sanders supporter, we went through this stuff, and I wasn't being as cheeky then as I am now. At the end of the conversation, he got so frustrated that he said to me, I'm not arguing with or taking seriously someone Harriet Tubman would have shot. What he has basically just said to me, because I'm white, he has decided to associate me with white southern slave owners and has said that he's no longer going to talk to me because basically, back in the day, about 180 years ago, Harriet Tubman, a black missionary, would have shot me. What he has just said to me is the equivalent of me talking to a black person, losing the debate, and feeling so frustrated that I turn round and say to him, "You're not worth arguing with or taking seriously, because at the end of the day, 200 years ago, you would have been fucking lynched." Trump 2020. That's all I'm going to say to that. If I was in the States in November, oh my gosh, I would fucking have a Make America Great hat on every fucking finger. I'd make miniature little Make America Great Again hats and put them on all of my fucking little digits, and I'd be walking around going into fucking Democrats' faces going We've got a real big problem in the US right now. We've got a real big problem. Yeah, I'll tell you what the problem is. You're thick as shit. Now some fucking 17-year-old kid has ended up killing 2 fucking people with a rifle. It's all fucked now. Just bring on the meteor. Bring on the meteor. I mean, we've already had a fucking global pandemic, haven't we? We'll have our Armageddon moment. You know, send Bruce Willis up there. He can fucking try saving us all. Do you know what? Bruce Willis don't give a fuck, does he? If there's one person that doesn't give a fuck anymore, it's Bruce Willis. You can see it every time you see his face. Any film, any appearance, Bruce Willis doesn't give a fuck. So he ain't saving us. So we're fucked. Ben Affleck. Let's face it, the only person Ben Affleck needs to save over the last couple of years is himself, isn't it? Eh? He hung up that Batcape quicker than you can say Flash Gordon, didn't he? Eh? Poor bastard.